Now with Saturn coming out of deep, secretive Scorpio and into fiery, extrovert, expansive Sagittarius, the ground rules, or shall we say the field of battle. Let's put it like that. It's going to be changing. That gauntlet thrown down is going to be on a different type of field. It's going to be on a more Saggy field. Well, what does that mean? Saturn will concentrate upon all things Sagittarian, so that's religion. That's a biggie. Religious heads, religious understanding, religious imposition, the history of what's gone on with religions. Maybe the forcing of more, on the one hand, the limiting to do with religion and religious belief, but also the forcing of just because, you know, it's the smartest thing to do. It's just to get over ourselves where religions are concerned, because we're all under the same sky, standing on the same earth, and where it gets screwed up is in our minds. That's always the place. The rest of it is pretty cool, really. So, and also the law. The law is another Saggy thing, and that is human law, along with Libra. But that is human law, but it's also spiritual law. And sadly, I have to say, I haven't noticed that the two really kind of mesh together, dovetail together very well at all. So there will be some hard scrutinizing of that kind of thing with Saturn there, and maybe different rules being applied there, but also those who claim the authority to speak on these things, who are mouthpieces, so like religious heads and heads of all sorts of so shall we say organizations who lecture us with the gospel according to whoever, and that goes for politicians as well, which is, again, has a Sagittarian, because Sagittarius is very idealistic, so we get a lot of idealistic people who perhaps can't deliver as much as they promise in, I shouldn't say perhaps, should I? I'm just trying to be nice, in politics. So and this has always been the way of it, you know. And also, I'm going to predict this, the New Age movement and the New Age mob, which, you know, purports to teach, and there's a lot of good people in that kind of mindset, a lot of good people. But I think this Saturn in Scorpio transit is going to weed out the quackery in there, you know. It's there's going to be more restraint through questioning or whatever from the people who, you know, promise the world and then live their lives in a very different way. You know, the greatest warrior is the one who is victorious over herself, and that can be done in a very anonymous, modest kind of a way. It doesn't have to be all over the internet. It's nice to share, though. I mean, it is nice to share. However, this is me being Saturn in Sagittarius, because Sagittarius is about communications as well. And there could be some sort of break put on that. There could be, you know, it could be affecting the internet. There could be restrictions there, limitations that come in there, because Saturn is about the tradition. Saturn is about the status quo. So, you know, there could be some gagging, maybe. There could be like a Google tax. There could be restrictions on press freedom. There could be censorship coming back in. There could be that kind of thing, but also the flip side, and we mustn't forget the flip side of Saturn, which is the most amazing majestic teacher energy through restriction. it allows us to become masters of limitation. It allows us to understand that we can't just gobble it all up really, really quickly and instantly, that we got to do the thing step by gradual step and build and build and build and don't give up. So it's going to be about building from the ground up this new age. And as I say, there's a lot of really great people who speak out, but there are many who, don't feel right. So even though they're saying the right words and ticking all the boxes and the right sort of cliches are coming out, they kind of don't feel right. You see, so those sorts of ones are going to get pulled, I think, more and more with this Saturn in Sagittarius. But of course, it's going to be a mixture. It's going to be a mixture of Saturn in Scorpio and Saturn in Sagittarius in 2015. So there's likely to be new rules which kind of are maybe limiting us all in the name of protecting us from the dark web, for instance, that kind of thing, or identity theft, like online fraud type stuff, and then these new rules, Saturn rules, regulations, because Scorpio is about subversive groups, underground stuff. There could be more coming out, exposure, even on a sort of level of espionage and that kind of thing. Or maybe it's just what's been, very, very murky and, shall we say, distasteful in the corridors of power. And that is in like major big conglomerates, but also within the world of celebrity, etc. And this will definitely, have us taking off our rose-tinted spectacles. I think maybe it might not even be so easy to brainwash youngsters into thinking that they have to go off and blow themselves up for some higher ideal, because this world is a third dimensional world and it's never going to be perfect. If it's perfect, it'll just go poof and disappear, because then there's nothing left to hold it. So it is a world of polarization, and it has to be. However, we can come together in more of a spirit of goodwill and cooperation and heart to heart. It doesn't have to be so divided. However, again, we are in this early stage of this new light being born, and I was told in December 2012 that there would be increasing division because that had to happen in order for what we don't want to be so very clear, so that we all come together into what we do want. And then we will go on in this left, right, yin, yang, black, white way, but not so polarized where it's so horrific, the darkness that some are dropping into. And of course they would not see it like that. And this is me sticking my neck out here. But it just seems to be part of this more polarized thinking. So here's me coming out a little bit more with what my personal opinion is. And but still, with the astrology, so hopefully, it won't be that easy. There will be more. Sagittarius is a truth seeker sign. And Saturn in Sagittarius will still be asking those difficult questions about, well, what is the truth here? Is this thing so idealistic that I am actually not being of any practical use? Because it's all very well to have ideals, but, practical on a daily basis in people's lives, how much am I helping? So anyway, it can be more like that, and the prevailing vibration of this transit inclines more towards personal truth, and those ones that just sort of gaily and merrily skip off thinking, oh yes, well, this is all, this is all going to help to make the world more perfect. perpetrating a horrific act, some of them who are ready to ask will actually stop and ask and say, actually, how much is this going to help? Just my friends, just my family, just, you know, day to day. How much really? Or could it possibly be a cop-out? So anyway, I think 2015 is going to be more for the long haul people, you know, the ones that are in there for the long haul and who are not going to check out, exit, escape. Now, famous Sagittarian also probably are going to be more in the news, and also that will go for the opposite sign, Gemini. So the first one that springs to mind is Sagittarius Gemini, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and also the other mutable signs, that's Virgo and Pisces. So Sagittarius, Virgo, Pisces, and Gemini are all going to feel more pressure, particularly the famous one, because then they've got nowhere to hide. Mostly they're under the spotlight. So there's people like that, but also Pope Francis, he's a Saggy. Judi Dench, the amazing, or Dame Judi Dench, I should say, the amazing British actress. Keith Richards, another Saggy, he's got Scorpio rising. Tina Turner, Woody Allen, Jacques Chirac, I think he's still alive, the ex-mayor of Paris, and Monsieur le Président, I think he was, and also anybody else you can think of, like Miley Cyrus. There's a lot of younger ones as well, or with not just Sun in Sagittarius, but with Moon or rising sign Sagittarius. All these people who are already, you know, regularly in the news will tend to be Taylor Swift. That's another one too. Will tend to be more, you know, undergoing something. So keep a watch out for that. That's quite interesting to look at, to learn about astrology by just looking, by studying, by observing how people who are regularly reported on, how their lives are going. Of course, we never really know, do we? Because it's just what's coming through the media. However, we can sort of get the gist of it. And if you'd like to know how this and other transits, plus the solar eclipses and the Mercury retrogrades and all of the degrees of the transits will be affecting the degrees in your sun sign in 2015, just click the link below and I will see you there.